Hey guys, Boris Lossberg from BK Forex. Welcome to our daily Forex daily technicals for 5/3/13. Is euro headed to 130? As always, trading foreign exchange on margin carries a higher level of risk may not be suitable for all investors. So I invite you to read this disclaimer very carefully and understand all the risks involved in trading foreign exchange on margin. Well, euro definitely the center story of the day today. Let me just pull up the chart here and bring it into the view. Um, Obviously, the ECB meeting, especially with a note that perhaps the deposit rate could be cut somewhere down the line, was a playbook strategy of SNB to deflate the euro. Um, and I wonder if it was maybe intentional in some ways, because obviously Draghi, I think, would prefer to have a weaker euro because that would be stimulative to the eurozone itself, would help the export sector, and maybe the conversation today was just strictly for that, to kind of brush it off the highs that it was trading. So euro, we talked about this yesterday. If we look at this on the daily charts, we were wondering, was euro setting up for a turn, because it was a huge flame out yesterday, and of course today the technicals really presaged the turn. The turn happened. Now we come to very, very critical levels. So if you look at the dailies, you can see the sort of the most critical level in the near term is this 29.50, which was value proposition about a week and a half ago. I don't know what day was this? Yeah, about a week and a half ago. They bought it, and then after that, it had a full rally all the way 300 points, all the way to almost 32.50 before flaming out yesterday and creating a big turn. So now, naturally, 30.50 and then, of course, the 30.100 become very, very strong magnets for the euro to the downside. The key thing, I think, tomorrow, one of the kind of uh, very, very volatile aspects of the NFPs tomorrow. If the number comes in very negative, it's quite possible the euro rallies. We take out 3100 and possibly maybe even run to 3150. Having said this, though, we collapsed off the 3150, and I think 3150 now is going to become a pretty serious resistance given the much more negative aspect of the European news than whatever negative aspect we march out of the NFPs. If the NFPs print positive, if we get to sort of 150, maybe 175, the downward path in the euro could really accelerate. So I think clearly 30.50 will go, but the big question will be the 30.100. And then the really, really big question will be the 29.50. I think unless we have a massively positive surprise, we're not going to break 29.50, but I think certainly 30.50, 30.100, those levels get tested, and then 29.50 probably comes in as a key support. If you look at this on the longer term chart, you kind of see how this lines up in terms of making a full big run to the downside. One of the interesting things I just noticed, by the way, is that we have a little bit of a gap here at what was it? It was around 30.33 to around 30.54. Obviously, we came in, didn't quite fill in the gap. May want to test the gap. Trading tonight, probably likely going to be very, very, very quiet. This is the typical signature of a pre-NFP trade where we stay within ranges. There may be a little bit of a short covering ahead of the NFPs into 31s, but I don't think 31 gets cracked unless we have some sort of momentum trade ahead of time, or unless somebody anticipates a much worse than expected NFP ahead of time and just kind of squeezes us out. It's kind of similarly to the downside. I think 30.50 gets protected. Maybe we peak a little bit below it, but overall it's going to be probably very, very slow trade all the way throughout as everybody just simply prepares for the NFPs. Dollar yen was an interesting trade today because I think it surprised a lot of people. This move, one of the key things about the ECB aspect of it, the fact they cut rates, is it created more liquidity. Initially had a big burst of run in euro yen that lifted dollar yen all the way through 98 and kind of removed a lot of this negative weight off of euro shoulders. Remember, the 97 level has been a very, very severe test. 1, 2, 3. If you look at this on the half-hour charts, it's been like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tests of 97. All of them repelled. The key reason why the test has been repelled is because there's talk in the marketplace of a 104.97 do not touch option, very large option that has been standing in it. So far, they've been able to rebuff the runs. What's interesting, I think, is that today's move kind of definitely cleared off a lot of the near-term negatives. But if we get a very, very bad NFP print, I think certainly this 97 gets tested, and quite likely, given the intensity of the report and the intensity of momentum, probably gets broken. I don't think the option defense people are going to be able to hold it. We get a very negative NFP, it looks like the trade goes down all the way out to at very least 96.50. Let me just actually, I think I'm going to have to go back on the 4-hour charts to show you. So the value proposition within dollar yen was this 95.75, 96 level, right, where they bought it and they brought it back up. Do we trade all the way back down on a very negative NFP? I think it's doubtful we trade all the way to 96, but I certainly think 97 gets tested, and we probably maybe target 96.50 as the near-term level for the shorts on a negative move. Positive, the upside here is capped by 99, I think, unless we have a blowout number. Let's say, I don't know, 200,000, completely unexpected, a growth back on the table, everybody shrugs off bad news, blah, blah, blah. Then we go back into the 99, 100 corridor, and then the focus shifts completely, and the whole talk turns back to the possible run towards the hundreds, because the reason why the run against the 100 has failed so many times has been the disappointment in U.S. data. So if U.S. data completely changes its tone and starts to surprise to the upside, it gives it a huge impetus to move to the hundreds. Likely, I don't think so. But at very least, I think if we get a halfway decent print, we probably could test 99s just in a squeeze higher. That seems to be the cap here. 97s to the bottom is the key level. Aussie has just continued to trickle down, but did find in the early session today, in the North American session today, supported this 102.25. It's basically a near-term double bottom that was made quite nicely over here, and even despite the bad news, has started to rally in the Asian session. We were in the 50s, came up now about 15 points. A small rally, but still it's significant in the sense that I think these bottoms seem to be quite seriously in place. Now remember, Aussie is probably the most vulnerable to a negative NFP in a sense that Aussie is the poster child for risk. So if slowdown happens, Aussie has been selling off because there's evidence of slowdown in China, there's evidence of slowdown in the US. If there's slowdown in the NFPs, I think a lot of these trends turn, and we definitely test the 102.25s. We'll break 102.25s, 102 comes into play. The much longer term support is the 101.50, and that one is probably not going to get tested unless we have some really, really horrible NFP numbers. On the upside, the cap is very much this 103. It was the failure and a break of this move just a couple of days ago that kind of broke it open to the downside. It now becomes very much an upside move. So I think the 103s pretty much cap any of the upside for the time being. A breakthrough 103s definitely puts us back into the path of the 103.50s. But again, the 103.50 is a very chunky area. So Aussie to the top side has to overcome the 3s, 350s, and ultimately the 10400s if it really, really has a complete change of turn. What is becoming pretty clear on the charts right now is there's certainly a small term, near term bottom. Those who are trading ranges, this is a very, very minimal amount of risk, I guess, against this 102.25s. So it may be worth a punt to assume that this is a near term bottom has been made. If you're bullish the NFPs or if you think surprises to the upside, it may be worthwhile. Having said this, though, NFP is incredibly volatile. And I invite you to read all the risks associated with trading FX on margin. Not something that I advise trading in front of, because that is not something that we like to do. Okay, so back to the currencies. Cable, last one that I actually want to take a look at. Cable failed 5600s. Kind of went down to the 55s, mainly in sympathy with the euro. Held back. That was the first level of support here, the 55s, which was big breakout level a couple days ago. Seems natural. And positive US numbers should probably push us a little bit lower. And the key level of support in cable, the really big level of support, is the 5450s. So I think that may be on a positive US number that could be tested to the downside. The upside, again, capped by 56s. So I think that's the range in cable at this point, where 56 pretty much represents the top, and 5450 represents a stronger support than what we have currently if we have a little bit of downside action. But cable definitely looks like, after a strong rally, starting to do a little bit of a consolidation, and certainly possible for us to retrace all the way down to 5450 as the day progresses. So quite a lot of different setups tomorrow. Euro, the center stage of the story, because a good NFP number could really put us down into the 130 and test that 129 and 130 support level as the day proceeds. Conversely, on the yens, A good NFP number could put us into the 99 category, and a super number could revive the whole notion of the idea that we go 99 to 100. Wishing you guys the best of luck and the best of trading for the NFPs. I'll see you next week. This is Boris Schlossberg over and out.